Here it is. The only sports podcast power rankings,
Champagne.
champagne and fireworks, because this theme for this one, Casino, will be
The Great
New
Gatsby.
Year's.
Oh.
It will be New Year's.
Oh yeah, it's New Year's today.
It's New Year's Eve right now when we're recording this. Let's start off with a bang, Casino, and we're in the club and we're dancing around, and your number 1 pick, or your number 10 pick, I should say, is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes. I like this team. I like TJ Watt. I like what Russ has been doing. He changed his career around. But I don't have any confidence in this team as of late. They have not played well. They got blown out by the Chiefs last week. They got blown out by the Chiefs last week. Then they lost to the Steelers the week before, or they lost to the Ravens the week before. What else? Who else did they? I think they lost 3 straight. Yeah, and then they lost to the Eagles as well. I've lost so much for this team that they're slipping, man. They're just slipping. And those are some elite teams that they need to be beating, and they're not. And that worries me going into the playoffs, that three Super Bowl contenders they've just completely fumbled up against. So they have dropped back for me. Russ has looked shaky as of the last 3 weeks. It's shown also in his quarterback play with the 3 losses in a row. So yeah, they sit at 10. They've lost a lot of luster.
Yeah. They're a team that's not in my top 10, much like what you said.
They were really close to being out. There was a couple other teams that were right on the bubble for me.
Yeah. When we talked about that 3-game stretch, we said we're going to really find out who this Steelers team is. And we found out who they were because, like you said, they lost on the road to the Eagles, on the road to the Ravens, and then at home to Kansas City. All three of those games were blowouts. So they played the toughest stretch of their schedule and then went 0-3 and are now sitting at 10-6 going into the playoffs. And again, last week of the season, they will probably lose to the Bengals because I just think the Bengals right now just have a red hot offense that even this good Steelers defense can't stop. So they're going to go into the playoffs at 10-7 on a 4-game losing streak. Even if they beat the Bengals, they're going to be 1-3 the last month. So
something fun is on Sunday night at my bar, I had a gentleman who's from Pittsburgh, first time in Vegas. I asked him, what do you think of Mike Tomlin? And boy, did he not hold back. He went off and off. He loves him, but he hates them. And then I followed up with, do you think about the whole winning, never having a losing season thing? And he went off. He wasn't mad, but he went off for, I'm not kidding, about 20 minutes where I didn't say a word. That is a hot topic over there. That is such a hot topic over there, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah. No, and that is one of those things that's both a blessing and a curse because they're never the number 1 seed, but they're not out of the playoffs. So they're in the playoffs every year, but nobody picks them to go all the way. So it's a weird mix. But anyway. My number 10, Casino, we are starting with, and right now we're in the club. Maybe we took some acid or something. The sky looks like it's fallen. It's looks great right now. But my number 10 is the Los Angeles Chargers. And again, I go on a week-by-week basis. So they had one of the top 3 most impressive performances this past week.
They played the worst team in the league.
They did. Now, that is why they're at number 10. Because, yes, they won 40-7, but they played a team that is going to have the first pick in the draft. But again, Herbert, 26 for 38, 281, 3 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins, Lad McConkey, they just played a really great game. They played a really Harbaugh-style game, which is just out-muscle the other team. I like this Chargers defense. Yeah, low scoring. Well, not low scoring for the other team. 40-7, just consistent in every quarter. Scored 7, 13, 10, 10. Yeah, just kind of grinds the other team down. I don't think they will beat any team in the playoffs except maybe Houston. I would pick the Chargers to beat Houston if that was the first round matchup. But other than that, we've said it all year, or you've been saying it, and I agree with you, which is Chargers are the best team that is not going to do anything in the playoffs. Like, they're the best team that's not going to do anything in the playoffs. Next up, your number 9 pick, Casino. It is that same team we're talking about, the
Yep.
Los Angeles
And I
Chargers.
won't go too much into that. I'm just kind of exactly what you're saying is I like the coach. Harbaugh's great. He knows what he's doing. He is a NFL playoff caliber coach. Um, bringing that team first year as a coach there, he brings them into the playoffs. Like that's special. That's special. He
Yeah.
knows what to do with that team. And yeah, I like this connection between him and Herbert, and I'm looking forward to seeing it going forward. But
Well,
I
honestly, they might be one of the few teams that also might be in the T. Higgins sweepstakes.
oh,
They would be the one.
100%.
If they were McConkey and T. Higgins, all of a sudden that becomes, and Quentin Johnston is in there as well, that becomes a pretty formidable offense with Herbert. You have the power running game that what is it? Harbaugh loves to run. You have a defense that can only get better. Like, I think again, Chargers do feel like next year they're going to be what they are every year, which is people picking them to be like, maybe they win the AFC West, which people already did this season. So, yeah. Next up, Casino, my number 9 team is
The
the
Bucks.
Washington Commanders.
Oh.
Now, I think what I'm hoping for, this is how I want the Eagles season to play out, Casino. I want them to play the first half, all their starters next week against the Giants. Saquon gets the record by halftime. They sit everybody in at halftime. Third and fourth quarter, we get McKee throwing 4 touchdowns. Everybody's going crazy, right? Then they play the Commanders as the 2 seed in the first round, and it's a recap of what just happened in the last game they played before Hurts got injured, which is they're up 21-7, and then they just coast the rest of the game, knock the Commanders out, get their revenge, and then that's how the season ends for the Commanders. Which, honestly, if you're the Commanders, I think the Eagles are the last team you want to play in the first round because of how that game happened last time. But right now, it would be Packers Eagles, which would be interesting. But they played them week 1. And again, I don't trust the Packers at all. But also, when it comes to the Commanders, they're 11-5 going into the last week of the season. I think it becomes a thing where if Packers win, they get the second to last. I don't know. I don't know how that's going with the playoff picture because it's only shown me from last week. So I think right now, Packers win, they jump the Commanders, if I'm correct or not. And
Honestly,
Commanders
I
would be the
haven't
last
paid
one.
attention to the seeding.
Yeah. Well, and also it can all change with like 3 games next week.
Yeah.
So,
I've been trying to
yeah,
pay attention to as much as I possibly can, but with all the games spread out so much,
it's so
I've
dumb.
and then having, the holidays and whatnot, having the 2 young kids and
Yeah.
this house, that
Them
house,
putting
being sick. It's been a lot to try to keep up with sports this last 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, especially when you had Wednesday games, Thursday games, Saturday games, Sunday games, Monday games, and then this coming week you also have Saturday games as well for no reason whatsoever, where you have 2 Saturday games that have playoff implications because it's Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers. So those have, I think, seeding implications. If Bengals win, now all of a sudden they're waiting for 2 other teams to lose and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Commanders, again, their defense is still shaky. I don't really trust any of their offensive weapons. This team rides on the shoulders of Jaden Daniels, who I really like, and he's going to 100% win Rookie of the Year. So good season by the Commanders. Crazy season
Yeah.
by the
I like
Commanders.
I think Daniels gets that rookie of the year for sure.
Even though it should probably be Brock Bowers. It should
Yeah.
probably be Brock Bowers.
Bowers is great.
And I'll
Yeah,
tell you what,
he
Malik
just
Neighbors.
broke records. He just broke some records.
Yeah. Malik Neighbors, you could also make a case for, but it's a
Yeah.
quarterback award and Daniels is going to win. Your number 8 team, Casino, that same Commanders.
Yep, and I've liked what this offense has been doing against elite defenses. I mean, look what they did to the Eagles. I know you're not happy about that game. Some officiating, this or that, and also the players being out. And I get your point of saying, oh, well, if Hurts was in there, the defense wouldn't have had been out that long. I get all that, but still, it's still
Complimentary football.
impressive. It's still impressive what Washington has done. They had a little bit of a
I
lull,
agree.
mid to late season, but this very end of the season, they have now hit their stride again, and I like watching them. So they're moving up again.
Yeah. No, and I think, yeah, with what we've seen, especially even last night where they beat, or not last night, Sunday night where they beat the Falcons on like a game-winning drive.
Yeah, and the Falcons
That
were
was
playing for their playoffs.
Yeah, and Falcons Commanders did dumb stuff in that game, but again, they're a wild card team. It's not like they're, 14-2. They're still an 11, probably 12-win team after this week. So they're impressive. Next up, Casino. That was your number 8. So we're going to your number 7, which is whoop, the Baltimore Ravens. Your number 7,
Yes.
Baltimore
Sorry.
Ravens.
Yep. Just trying to see something here. Yeah, Baltimore Ravens. Their defense scares me. However, when you have arguably the MVP winner again, it's so hard not to put this team up further. They have so many ways they can score on you, and we just haven't seen a dual threat quarterback like this.
Maybe
So
ever.
I don't know how long it's been, but
Well, people compare him to Michael Vick. He is a much
much
better
better
passing
Michael. He
quarterback
is a much
than
better
Michael Vick.
Michael Vick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if we've ever seen a quarterback that does both passing and rushing as well as him. It is just outstanding what this guy can do. Um, he's just got to get it together in the playoffs, man. And I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to be the team to upset the Chiefs so we don't even have to go into a conference with the Chiefs in there. But that's going to be a tall order for the Chiefs to do that.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to beat the Ravens. Most likely it's gonna have to be Ravens and then Bills, which is that's tough, man. That's tough. And you know what? That's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of thinking like I know the Chiefs are good and they're not good. They're great. That's gonna be a lot of high powered offenses, especially so you have to play Baltimore, then you have to play Bills, and then you have to play either the Lions, the Vikings, or the Eagles. Like, dude,
Yeah.
that defense could be tired out by the end of this, man.
Well, also, you look at the defensive rankings for the Ravens, they're still number 1 in the league in rush defense, which would be good if they weren't 30th in the league in passing offense. And again, like you said, to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC, they're going to have to beat the Chiefs, who are a great passing offense. They're going to have to beat the Bills, which they already did beat, but again, great passing offense. Then you have the Texans and Chargers, who both have elite quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So them having the 30th or 30th pass defense in the league is what has worried us all season about the Ravens, because again, you're going to have to beat elite quarterbacks in the playoffs, most likely on the road because you're a 3rd seed. So you're going to have to either go to Buffalo or to Kansas City to most likely go to the Super Bowl.
Both. They'll have to go through both most likely.
Yeah. So again, I don't like the Ravens odds, but with what Derrick Henry, with what Lamar Jackson has done this season, there's no way you can count them out.
No.
My number, what? I'm on my number 8,
7.
correct?
Yeah, 8, then 7, yeah.
So my number 8th pick, Casino, I have the Green Bay Packers. And again, the Green Bay Packers, what I've said all season, their most impressive win was against the Seahawks. And I hyped up that win. I love that win. And now the Seahawks are not going to be in the playoffs. So my whole thing with that was they beat a playoff team and handed them their ass. Well, every other team they've played in the playoffs, they're 0-5 against.
Yeah.
So,
but they've made them close games. They're yeah.
but
They're
again,
close.
but again, if you're 0-5 in close games, I have less faith in you in close games because you don't win those. If
That's
they
fair.
were 2-2 or 3-2 or 2-3, you could at least give me an example of, Yes, they were all close games, but they won some of them. This one, every close game they've played against a playoff team in the NFC, they've lost. They lost twice to the Vikings, lost twice to the Lions, and lost once to the Eagles. All three teams are a team most likely you're going to have to play in this playoffs, and they already have your number. Again, the Eagles game was weird, but I don't think right now anybody can look at the offense or defense of the Packers and say anything about those are better than the Eagles offense or defense right now. I mean, Josh Jacobs, I love. Saquon Barkley's a better version than Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love having a good season. Jalen Hurts is a better version of Jordan Love. Like, and then when
That's
you get
fair.
to the defense, yeah, Eagles have the number one defense in the league. So again, also Jordan Love, very hot or cold in that game against the Vikings. The first half, he was just like, I don't know what he was doing. He was just out of it. But that being said, I still think they're a better, more complete team than the Commanders and Chargers just because Jordan Love, even though he's hot or cold, he gets hot in the second half of games. And again, I like Josh Jacobs more than any running back on either the Commanders
All right,
or
let's get
Chargers.
to your 6. What are you thinking? Who are you thinking?
My number 7 casino
7, that's what I
is
mean.
I have the Los Angeles Rams. Now, again,
Wow.
I yeah, I feel like the Rams, again, everybody's forgetting they beat the Bills in a shootout, what, 3 weeks ago? Now, the only
I'm
reason
not
why they're
forgetting that, but that's okay, go. Make the case.
no, the only reason why they're 7 is the last month of the season has not been since that Bills game, they have not been playing pretty football. They've been winning, but none of those games you can look at and say they are impressive. Because what? I'm pulling it up right now. Since that Buffalo Bills game where they won 44-42, they won 6 points against the 49ers. They won by 10 points against the Jets, and they won last week against
Why
the
I'm
Cardinals by 4 points. So I don't know what has happened to this offense since that Bills game, but
that's still like you're downplaying them saying, "Oh, they should be higher, but this and that." But that's crazy you have them that far back, man.
why? You don't have them on your list at all,
No.
correct?
No. I mean, what's the one team that it doesn't look like you have on yours, which is the Steelers. And
I
I
don't
would
have the
ass
Steelers.
yeah.
No.
So that's the team that, would flip-flop with us. And I had the Steelers at 10. I was thinking about the Rams as a possible 10, but damn, you have them all the way up at 7.
Yeah.
I that's
Their
that's
defense only slightly worse than the Packers, but again, their offense and coaching, I would take over the Packers any day of the week. I like Sean McVay. Puka
yeah,
Nakua and Cooper Cup
okay.
are
I mean, yes, they beat the Bills in that one, but before
yeah,
that, they beat they beat the Saints by only a touchdown. And then after the Bills win, they only beat the Niners by 6 points. They barely beat the Jets by 10 points. They barely beat the Cardinals by 4 points.
yeah.
I mean, and these are low scoring games. And all
But
right,
again,
I just have trouble
the
seeing the
only
Rams
now
that
again,
high up.
the argument you can make is the Packers played the Rams earlier this season and the Packers won. But I think the most impressive win between these two teams is the Rams beating the Bills the way they did. And again, the Rams have been injury prone all season,
Yeah, they
especially
did beat the Vikings early on. They did beat the Bills.
going
All right.
into the playoffs. The Rams are one of the healthiest teams in the NFL. So going into the playoffs, they're not impressive wins, but they're still wins nonetheless. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Again, the against two divisional opponents of Tomato Can in the New York Jets and the potentially best team in the AFC in the Bills.
All
So
right.
I think those wins mean something. And again, if they beat the Seahawks on Sunday, they're going to be going into the playoffs. They're going to have a home playoff game, and their defense is now healthy. They have all their weapons back. I think the potential of the Rams right now is more impressive to me than the Packers because, again, the Packers don't have any wins except Oh, the only win they have over a playoff team is against the Rams when the Rams were still dealing with all those injuries. And also that was week 5
All
where
right.
they won a touchdown.
Well,
So
moving
that's
on.
my
I'll let you feel good about your pick there, and
do I feel good about
we'll
the Rams or the Packers being on this list? No, because I think they both have the potential more so than the Commanders and Chargers.
I have no issue with the Packers because go
Well, because 'cause they're on your list. Yeah.
let's move on to mine.
You're number 6, the
The
Packers.
Packers. And I say the Packers, and yes, they have lost all their games against those top teams. You name the teams they just lost to, or that they have the losses to, but they're all good games. That is telling me they are an outstanding team, but they're just not better than the 5 teams that are ahead of them. That's it. That's all that you're telling me. They're playing all those teams really, really tough, and they're beating every other team, you know? So even a couple of those teams that are in the top 5 have struggled or have lost against teams that the Packers are beating. So that's why I have the Packers at 6 is they are better than every one of those teams that are not the best teams in the league. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
They are a year away. I'd probably say, to being in that top group, but they need to win a couple of those games. That's fair. I get that. But that's why they sit just outside the top 5 juggernaut teams. And they're in between all the teams after that because they're better than all those teams after that, just not better than the top teams. So I think that's where they have to be placed is at 6.
And you know what? My condolences. The Packers are 1-5 against teams that are going to be in the playoffs because I did forget they beat the Rams when the Rams weren't going to be in the playoffs, but now they will be. So,
That's fine.
correction on my point, they're 1-5.
And that's what I'm talking about is the teams they can beat the teams that are not the top 5. So
If
moving on.
it was Packers Rams first round in LA, who you picking?
In LA,
Well, that's what it would be because Packers would be
yeah.
a wild card.
I don't know. I'll have to give that one some thought. I honestly would have to give that one some thought. But
I think I would
that's
pick the Rams. I think I would pick the Rams. And that's why I have them again slightly. I could have put both of them on the same thing, but I didn't want to.
all right. Moving
I
forward,
think they're slightly better. Next up, my number what? We're on number
6,
5
6.
or my number 6 pick casino is Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think
And so that's
again,
another team that I didn't have on mine, but they were close to being that 10.
now again,
You go
I
to 3
had them as high as number, I think 3 or 4 on last week's power rankings that we didn't do. But I still wrote
Damn.
mine out of what I would have. And then all of a sudden they lose to the Cowboys. And it's like that loss was really bad. I didn't like that loss at all. And
And
that
that's why
dropped
I do
them.
not have them on my power rankings.
Yeah. But when you look at the Buccaneers, again, there is not 4 quarterbacks better than Baker Mayfield
And
going
that's
into the
fine. And
playoffs right now.
we're not discussing quarterbacks. We're not discussing quarterbacks. We're discussing team play. We're discussing
Mhm.
records, team play, where we think teams can beat other teams. I that fair enough. I'll let you finish.
So the
Beyonce had the
Buccaneers
best album, but I'll let you finish.
again, the Buccaneers are going to have a home playoff game. And when you look at the Buccaneers are the opposite of the Packers, which every victory they've had this season, every good victory has been against the team that's going to be in the playoffs. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Lions. Again, we forget one of the 2 losses the Lions have is against the Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles, who are going to be so right now. The Buccaneers have 2 wins against the 1st seed and the 2nd seed in the NFC. Then they also lost by 10 points to the Ravens. They lost in OT against the Chiefs. And then they beat, who was it? They destroyed the Chargers 40-17. And then they lose a weird game by 2 points against the Cowboys and then absolutely annihilate the
Yeah.
Panthers. Who,
So
again,
they were the one team when it came for my 10th spot if I was going to put the Steelers or the Bucks. I mean
yeah.
Rams were right there, but it was going to be the Steelers or the Bucks for me and then the Rams after that. If I could do a 3-way tie for the 10, I would, but I don't do that like you do. So,
Yeah.
anyway, fair enough. I like
So
your points with Baker. I want to see him do well. I was cheering my ass off for that, and they did. And I'm really, really happy that they are in their destiny. Their hand, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Their destiny is in their
Also,
hands. There we go.
Buccaneers shockingly similar to the Ravens of all teams because they are 5th in the league against the run and 29th in the league against the pass. So great rushing defense, bad passing defense, and then their offense, I believe, is a top 10 offense in the league right now. So again, this is mostly because I love their offensive weapons. I love all of a sudden Bucky Irving has just come on as like a really formidable rushing or running back in this league where now all of a sudden it gives them where they're not one dimensional and it's not
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans nonstop. So now they
All
have a
right.
running attack, they have an offense, they have a great rushing defense. They're basically the NFC Ravens. No quarterbacks in the league are playing better than Mayfield and Lamar Jackson, except, if you want to throw Goff or Darnold or Josh Allen in there. So, yeah, that's why I have them so high on my list at number
That's
six.
fair. We need to
Uh,
start rolling through these because you need time to edit. And honestly, I can't feel my butt anymore sitting on my daughter's chair. It's not a
uh,
joke. I'm being serious. Like I can't feel my ass.
I don't, no comment. Next up, Casino, your number 5 is the Minnesota Vikings.
The Minnesota
Kind of
Vikings.
low,
Yeah.
kind of low.
No, I get it. I get it. I need to see them win it. I need to see them beat and get that number 1 seed, and boy, will they jump.
Oh, I
Oh,
thought you
boy,
were
will
gonna
they.
say win the Super Bowl. You were like, "Listen, I'll pick
Mm,
them as a good team when
no.
they win the Super Bowl."
No. I have them spoiler, I'm picking them to win that Lions Vikings game next weekend, and if they do so, watch for the jump. Be excited for the power rankings. Just be excited.
Oh,
That's what
you're
I'll
gonna
say.
put them at 1 if they beat the Lions.
Oh, no.
You're
They
gonna
won't
put
be
them
at
at
1.
1.
They won't be at 1. There's 2 teams that I would still put above them.
Okay.
Maybe 3. Maybe 3 teams.
Yeah. Also, well,
Maybe 3
the
teams.
Vikings are obviously on my list, so
I love the Vikings, so that's where I'm having with them. I love it. Sam Darnold's top tier. I can see him hoisting a trophy. So, I love it.
yeah, my next one, my number 5 is the Baltimore Ravens. And again,
Fair.
we've said so much about the Ravens. There's really nothing left to say. We don't, but much like the Packers, much like the Bucks, much like the Ravens, I can't put them any higher above the other elite teams because of their defenses. Their
That's
defenses
great point.
scare me. They need all 3 of these teams need to win in shootouts
Gotcha, and that's why
because
you will, that's why my next team is where they are.
yeah. And again, the Packers right now, 8th in total defense, but when you look at them versus passing versus rushing, they're 17th in the league against the pass. Every team in the NFC has a better passing offense than what the Packers have. So they're going to have to win in shootouts with bad passing defenses against teams that have better passing offenses than they do, which is why, again, I feel like they're so low. But with the Ravens, number 1 in the league in rushing defense, number 30th in league in passing offenses. And again, for them to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to go through 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league in Josh Allen and Mahomes. So that's why I can't put them above them, even though they annihilated the Bills. I still think the Bills are a better team, especially in the playoffs when it comes to the Ravens.
No,
Next up,
don't.
your number 4 pick is the Detroit Lions, and
And it's exactly what you said. It's
Sonic and Knuckles is
I
their
love it.
running back names. Yeah.
I love it. It's their defense. I don't care what Jared Goff can do. I don't care that they could put up 40 to 50 points a game. That defense is rough right now. So that's what
22nd in the league in total
yeah.
defense.
So
31st in the league against the pass, which
yeah.
is
I
not
was
good.
hoping
What
they would
the
get some
Ravens?
I was hoping they would get some defense back, but they scare me. So that's where I'm at. That's the reasons why they sit there at 4.
It is crazy. Maybe it's just because they're always in shootouts and the other team doesn't have the chance to run the ball. The Lions right now,
But the line
31st in the league in
I mean,
passing.
that offense is great. Their offensive coordinator is great. I mean, did you watch that hook and ladder play? Was
Yeah.
it was done to
The
perfection, which was
play
outstanding.
design. is fantastic
It's
when it comes to the
outstanding, and
Lions.
also shout out to Gibbs. Thank you, Jamar Gibbs. My brother loves you, and loves you. My brother was down 8 points in his fantasy league, and with that last touchdown Jamar Gibbs did, my brother got first in his league. My brother crushed
Damn.
it.
Next up, Casino. Your number 4 pick was the Lions. My number 4 pick is
Please don't forget
I
to pick.
have it tied. I have the Vikings Lions at number 4 because I
There's
think
your
you can
tie.
make the case. This is the one spot I have where I have two teams at the spot. I think you can make the case right now, especially defensively, rushing defensively. Vikings are number 2, Lions are number 3. Pass defensively, Vikings are 28th against the pass, Lions are 31st against the pass. So they're both right there. And again, you look at both these offenses, the play design for the Lions is more creative. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's better because the Vikings, again, their passing attack, their rushing attack is, in my mind, as good as the Lions. And Sam Darnold, I don't think you can pick Jared Goff over Sam Darnold because we went through the numbers earlier in the show. They're eerily similar. These two teams, and again, the rushing defenses are so good with against these teams where you put Ravens, Lions, Vikings because no teams have the chance to run against them because they're down by 3 touchdowns and they need to pass
They
and all
need
that
to
kind
throw
of
the
stuff.
ball. Yeah.
So these numbers are skewed, but still, when you watch the Vikings games, when you watch the Lions game, it doesn't feel like they can stop anybody on offense unless they get a turnover. Like that's basically what it comes down to. Can they turn the ball over? Again, Purdy was picking apart the Lions defense and in the first half, second half he throws 2 interceptions and then Lions win by 2 scores. So, if they don't get interceptions, they're going to have to win in shootouts. Can they? Yes. Will they 3 games in a row? It's going to be hard, especially when you're playing against the best teams in the league. So that's why I have them tied. And again, much like Casino said, Vikings or Lions win, one of those teams going to skyrocket up the list. One of them's going to fall. So, and right now, I think I'm also picking the Vikings to win that game. Next up, Casino, your number 3 pick is my Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Too low. Too
That's
low.
fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. I worries me with Jalen Hurts getting hurt. I know
Yes.
what those backups did. That's fine. This was a tough call. They should be 2, but I'm having them at 3, and that's where I have them. That's just where I have them. I know it's gonna piss you off, but that's where I have them. They are the
No,
best. They are the best team in the NFC. That's where I have them.
that's true. That's a good point. My next team, Casino, because obviously we'll talk about the Eagles more when it gets to my list. My number 3 pick, is up if I can find it. My number 3 pick, I have the Buffalo Bills because again, what is it? I just think the last 3 weeks for the Buffalo Bills, I've wanted to see, and again, they've been good games, but as far as Josh Allen, it feels like since that Rams game or since the game right before the Rams game where he had 3 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing, or maybe that was in the Rams game. But since that game where everybody was like, he's the clear MVP, he's the clear MVP, he's kind of cooled down enough where now I've seen people being like, well, clearly Lamar Jackson's the MVP. So I love this Bills team, but we've seen this so many times before. We've already had this argument on this show, which is they look great in the regular season. Josh Allen plays great in the playoffs, and they still lose to the Chiefs. They still lose
I
uh,
don't think that's happening this year.
in
I
the
think this
playoffs.
is the year. This is the
Fingers
year.
crossed, I don't think it
This is the
happens,
year.
but
This is the year.
yeah. And then Casino, finally, we get to our number 2 pick, which for you is that same Buffalo Bills team. So there's Josh Allen. He's with his friends. He's getting ready for the New Year's. He's partying.
I'm having a hard time going against Josh Allen, man. He is
Yeah.
this. I mean, I know that he's tapered off a little bit, but it's not like he's putting bad numbers up, dude. Like that's the thing. Is like we're
Point.
talking about him with the MVP race, and that's why we're diminishing him a little bit. You know, that's where I'm struggling. That's where I'm struggling. Yes, they went into the Rams, but you're high on the Rams. They were almost in my top 10 as well. I think they're going to shake up the playoffs a little bit. People will be scared to play them. But I can't, just because Josh Allen might lose the MVP, I can't put them lower. What they're still doing is still putting up great numbers, and they're still winning. So
But again, see,
again, I had
it's
trouble. I almost put the Eagles too. I really, if you want me to put them together, I would have.
yeah.
But I'm just higher on the Bills, and maybe that's just me hoping that they could beat the Chiefs.
But see, we can't put the Chargers down at 10 just because they beat the Patriots and then ignore the fact
No,
that
I'm
the
not.
Bills won by 3 against that same Patriots team the week before. That's where I'm at right now. Like, yes, the Eagles lost to the Commanders, but Jalen Hurts got knocked out of that game 5 minutes into it, and then they lost by a
That's
touchdown
fair.
with
That's
10
fair.
seconds left.
Again, that
So
was a
that's
tough
where
one
I'm
for
at.
me. That was a tough one for me. So
No, I get
moving
it.
on.
But
Now I want to know who your 2 is. I want to know who your 2 is.
so my number 2, I have the Eagles. And there you
Good.
have Jalen Hurts and
Good.
all the Eagles friends
I'm
at a
glad that you
party.
have them there
Everyone behind them is
because
excited.
it's just, I mean, we've talked about them enough. Let's just get to number 1. We got to get out of here.
Well, yeah. And the Eagles right now, still currently number 1 in total defense, number 1 passing defense, what is it?
I
Number
like the
10 rushing
dancing
defense.
in the background.
Dancing. She's having a good time. But you know what, Casino? Before we get to number 1, this is New Year's, so let's count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here is our number 1 pick, Casino. Oh no, wait a second. Why are we not celebrating? Where are we going? Oh no, we're being sucked into hell because the Chiefs are the number 1 pick. They're the number 1 team. The Chiefs
With Hollywood
are
Brown coming back, he opens up that playbook to the fullest. And because now you have the true slot receiver with him, and now everybody can play their positions properly. And it makes Mahomes 10 times more dangerous. And there's always going to be somebody open. No matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody open now. And
what
that's frustrating as hell. This team,
it's it's
my
one of
own,
those things. They're going to win the Super Bowl or be in the Super Bowl, and everybody's going to be pissed off, us included. But it feels like a slow moving train that we can't stop. It's that scene.
I will take anybody in my top 15 to win the Super Bowl, as long as it's not the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs are that scene in Austin Powers where he's going towards that guy riding the steamroller, and the guy's standing in the way just screaming, and Austin Powers is like, "Get
You
out
can
of the
make that,
way!"
you can make that reference, or you can make the Zamboni reference in Deadpool. You know,
Yes, it's the
well,
Chiefs
I
are
mean,
inevitable.
the Austin Powers one's better because the guy he can move, and he's just not.
The Chiefs right now, 4th in the league in total defense. They also are 14th in the league in total passing defense, and then 4th in the league in total rushing defense. So again, besides the Eagles, and that's why I have the Eagles at 2, Chiefs at 1. Both of them have much better defenses than everybody below them on the power rankings. And that has been going into the last week of the season. Our
I'm
last
so
power
angry.
rankings of the regular season, Casino. Yeah, the Chiefs are clearly the best
I
team,
love
and I
when you
hate it.
sent that to me, and you're just the Chiefs are the best team, and I was like, I know. It was just
Yeah,
like, we
15
had
and 1. You hate to see it.
we hate to see it.